Wendy, told her, I'm scared, and she immediately brought me back to one of our favorite verses from 2 Timothy. That the Lord has not given us the spirit of fear, but power and love and a sound mind. And I immediately snapped back, and it was fine. And then the related event was about 10 days later. It hit me. I had a brother who was just my best friend, a senior vice president at Lehman, and I had not talked to him about this.
It just hit you.
It just hit me. I mean, but the reason it just hit me is that week, after it was just stunning the number of things we were dealing with. We had the focus on, on Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, needed to go to Congress for the TARP,
So did you call him?
AIG, the money markets. So I called him, and when I called him, he was just terrific. He just said, listen, I knew you did everything you could. I was worried about you. Don't worry about me. But there are plenty of those. As I think back on it, and I don't want to think back on all of the different moments, but there are plenty of them.
Tim, your moment?
I don't know. I just remember that mix of crushing burden of responsibility, fear about whether we were going to be able to get our arms around it, just tired.
Right.
It was easier when we decided, whatever the next stage of escalation, when you could choose to act. But I think the hardest thing was, sitting at the table with my wife in the morning with her reading about what we were doing and just seeing on her face that mix of despair and doubt. And I believe that she felt we were, ethical people trying to do the right thing. But she looked at what we did and said, she was like, really? I think that was the hardest thing. And of course, that was mirrored by, what we faced across the country. And that gap between what we thought was right, what we thought was the best of the available options, the gap between what we thought was going to provide the broadest benefit, right, with fastest, as quickly as possible, and what people thought was fair and just. I think that was, in some ways, the hardest thing.
I want to get back to that and the questions your wife had in just a moment, because I think those questions may be the questions that the country is still grappling with. But Ben, real briefly, your moment, because I know you had one.
AIG Tuesday, I think, markets in chaos. We organized an $85 billion loan to make sure the world's largest insurance company would not collapse. Hank and I went to Bush, got his support, but he said, go talk to Congress. So Hank and I went to talk to a group of congressional leaders and explained what we were doing, why we were doing it. Will it work? It could work. Will you get your money back? We hope so. So the questions went on for a while, and then it died down, and then Harry Reid was leading the discussion. He said, remember, Hank remembers this.
Oh, gosh, yes.
He said, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman, he says, I want to thank you for coming down here and explaining this situation to us. He says, but I want you to understand one thing. Nothing you've heard here tonight constitutes congressional support or approval for what you're about to do. This is your decision and your responsibility. And I remember feeling so alone, looking over at Hank and saying, this is the kind of thing that we're going to have to do.
And the question before that is, where do you get the $85 billion?
Yeah, that was